Welcome back to another episode of Elevate with Elsner. Today, I have the honor of sitting next to an individual that has truly changed my entire perception about life, about mindset, about how to just continue to show up every day. And it's exactly what I needed about 9 months ago. And there he was, boom, just helping me show up. And just like that, here I am. Never in a million years, if somebody told me when I went back to New Orleans and said, "Hey, Mike, you're going to be on my podcast, episode 17, and we're going to do it right here." No way in a million years would I believe that. But I love having you here, and thank you so much for coming. So without further introduction, Mike Kitko, Inner Wealth Global. What's going on, my man?
Let's go, man. Let's go. So slight adjustment, and this is kind of what I do is I help people make little slight adjustment to their perspective, and just those little slight adjustments like create exponential growth. I just held the door open, brother. I didn't cause any shift in you. I just held the door open. I just showed you a door that you didn't know existed, and you walked through the door. If you wouldn't have walked through the door, then nothing would have changed in your life. That's a part of the journey, the development journey that you get to own, is that there's nobody that can make you shift. There's no one that can make you grow. There's nobody that can make you elevate. All they can do is show you a door that you didn't know existed, open it up, maybe scream, "Hey, here's a door," try to get your attention. But ultimately, if you don't walk through it, you're going to remain the same exact person. So a great guide, a great coach, a great mentor, all they're doing is showing you possibilities that you didn't know existed. And then you get to harness and leverage those possibilities. And brother, that's what you've done. And that's why the change has happened in your life. So I love seeing people transform, evolve, reset. Man, I don't love seeing people just grow. I love seeing them blossom. I love seeing them completely go from just one version of themselves to an exponential version. And you've done that. And I want to applaud you for that, because not everybody's ready for that, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And like I said, without you, I would not be here. And one of the biggest things, when you came to me and you said, "Hey, Blake, you want to come to a workshop in St. Louis?" And I'm like, or New Orleans. You had two different ones. And I was like, I knew that I had to go to that one in New Orleans because that was the only way I was going to show up, because knowing my track record, I just knew if it something else came up in St. Louis, it's very easy to say,
Sure.
"Hey, I'm not going to make it." Right. So I knew I had to put my ass on a plane and go down to New Orleans because I needed some serious help. And even now it's hard for me to sit here and go, "Man, you're a lot different. Your voice is different. Your demeanor is different."
Your whole body.
And even myself, when I do it, I want to retreat. It doesn't feel natural to me because I'm not used to it. So that's kind of a tough thing I'm having to overcome.
Yeah. So first of all, you didn't take the easy way out, right? I didn't consciously offer you an easy way out. I just said, "Hey, I've got two the same workshop. We were performing it in St. Louis, and you're from your home base of St. Louis. Mine's just north of St. Louis, but I offered you the St. Louis track, and I offered you the New Orleans track. Same workshop in two different places, and you could have taken the easy path, and you didn't. You took the path of most resistance, which created like an opportunity for exponential growth again. But I mean, come on, New Orleans is a good time, Blake. New Orleans is a good time. So
Big Easy.
That never sucks either. But yeah, man. It's this development, personal development. I like to call it spiritual growth, right? Because that's all it is. It's the growth of your spirit. When we grow as human beings, we're growing in our spirit. And what I mean by that is in your mind and body, there's thoughts, there's emotions, and that's your spiritual nature. So as you evolve as a spiritual being, then everything in your circumstances and in your life are going to change. So not everyone is interested in changing what's happening inside of them, because it's kind of sometimes it's a dark place to go into, the recesses of our insides, the recesses of our of our being, of our nature, of our thoughts, of our emotions. It's kind of, sometimes it's a very uncomfortable place to be, but you chose to go in, because that's where you're also going to find the glory, right? And that's where the pain is, and then that pain turns to purpose. But what happens is there's a great quote, and I don't have it in front of me, but there's a great quote by Marianne Williamson, and it talks about it's not the fear of failure that causes people pain. It's the fear of success. Who am I to be successful? Who am I to be wealthy? Who am I to matter? Who am I? And she's like, well, you're a divine being of God. You are a divine part of God. You have divinity you are divinity incarnate. Who are you not to be successful? Who are you not to be seen? Who are you not to be impactful? Who are you not to be valuable and significant in this world? Keeping yourself small does nothing good for anyone. But when you start to show up, it is scary because not everybody's showing up. Not everybody wants to show up because it's scary. And when we do start to show up, and you've seen this firsthand, when you do start to show up, the people who are scared to show up start to throw rocks, man. And they start to fling garbage, and they start to fling drama, and they try to pull you back in. And that's why this journey, that you are the average of the top 5 people you spend the most time with. If you spend it with people that are just going nowhere, you're going to be the 6th going nowhere. But when you spend all your time with people that are literally unpacking and unraveling all the garbage that was inside, so we can step into a higher level of spiritual purpose and step into a higher level of material purpose, it's game on.
Yeah, totally. And that whole spiritual aspect in my life, I knew it was there, but I just didn't know how to pull it out. Yeah. And I'm still, I still struggle with it a little bit, like, because it's tough to like almost create a whole different person. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I'm scared, but it is like a little fearful because it is lonely. It is sometimes like you seem like you're by yourself on this island, and then you kind of like, I bring you in here and I get to talk to you, and it grounds me back to my spot where I need to be. But there's so many times where I do want to retreat, and it is so hard for me to fight that off and keep fighting off. It's somewhat exhausting sometimes, but I know that the outcomes on the other end of getting through these times and getting through the retreat process is just going to lead me to greater outcomes. So.
And sometimes we need the retreat. I mean, look, you and I are a lot more similar than we are different. And I teach, it's not really a program, but it's just a synthesis of a bunch of different mystical and spiritual kind of systems that help you really understand yourself, your purpose, your path at a deeper level. And you and I have some similarities in how we're designed. And what that means is we require some time alone to synthesize what we're learning. And that's not retreat. That's like recovery. That's like restoration. Okay. So we need to, as human beings, especially when you're surrounded or when you're, kind of like the hustle culture is prevalent, right? And the hustle culture tells you there's no days off, and if you're not showing up, then you're a failure, and if you retreat, you're a failure and whatever. But literally, our design, our being requires some time alone to recover and restore what's happening. And we get to synthesize all the lessons, and the synthesis of the lessons that we're after and that we're learning. They don't happen while you're still in action. They happen when you're in action. They happen with your eyes closed and with you just connecting to your breath. That's where the synthesis and the growth really happens. That's when your spirit starts to blossom, and that's when you really, really evolve. It's not in the war. It's not in the actual battle. It's when the bullets stop flying and you get to like start to dive in and say, okay, what have I learned from this? And then that helps you continue to upgrade and level up, man. But we require that, Blake. We really do.
Yeah. And when the bullets start flying, like you're saying, like I want to just start fending them all away and just like put up this defense shield of like, no retreat, like go back to yourself. And I guess when you say the restore or the restoration of ourselves, like we need that alone time to kind of figure things out. I think I do take that as, oh no, I'm starting to retreat. And then I get in my head because I am by myself. I start to think a little bit more. Yeah. And so I think that I'm still working on that part of, trying to balance that.
Yeah.
Alignment.
I mean, look, last week, and last week was Thanksgiving week, right? So last week, man, I didn't feel like doing anything. I was just in pure shutdown mode. And if you can check my social media post. Sometimes I do 4 or 5 social media posts a day. I think last week I might have had 2. Like it was like, and those were 2 that I was just inspired to create, where in the absence of inspiration, I didn't post anything. I just went blank. I just went dark. And that carried over into the weekend. And today I woke up, 1 a.m. my eyes opened up, and it's like I started getting like reinvigorated and re-inspired, and I started to feel the energy start to move in my body, and it was a rough night of sleep. But when my eyes popped open, and my dog's waking me up at 5:30, but when my eyes popped open, it was like, let's fucking go, like let's get after it. And it just felt completely different than last week. And I truly believe in my life, and I'm just going to share my experience, and you get to figure out, your experience. But that restoration of last week and that shutdown created and catalyzed that inspiration this morning. Without one, there's just a depleted. If I was all in motion last week, when it was a week of restoration, or a period of restoration, a period of recovery, a period of synthesis, then this morning and today wouldn't have been so powerful. Wouldn't have been as powerful. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
one creates the
sense,
other.
Yeah.
One creates the other. We get it's not just a either or. It's without one, the other one's not as powerful.
Yeah, that is interesting to think like that. And like, even to dive into that process of thinking is a whole nother level of like of growth. Like, that's the stuff that, even sitting here talking to you, I'm growing, and I'm aligning myself. Each thing you're talking, or each thing you're saying, I soak it all up. So anybody will know that I'm a learner, and sometimes I can either put the stuff to work or I won't. It's just a fact of whether I'll be lazy or not, and if I want to do the work or not. And so when you tell me to do stuff, or you speak a lot of wisdom to me, I inhale it all, because that's what I want to do, and I try to replicate it as closely as possible, because I know what's on the other end of that. And it's a successful Mike Kitko, and that's where I'm like, okay, I need to replicate this to a certain degree, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about, I want to unpack one word there, and then I want to dive into some things you said. Success. Okay. For me, success is just being in my purpose and on my path. That's all success is. It's not a number. It's not a volume of clients. It's not how many commas. My success for me is being in my purpose and on my path. That's it. And your success is going to look different. If you don't know, when you're operating in your purpose, your life is it feels effortless. It feels easy. It's very inspired. You get great results. People applaud you. People are better. People's lives improve because of you. When you're in your purpose, like, everything around you gets better. Right. And it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like you're literally laboring. It doesn't feel like you're efforting. And if you don't know if you're in your purpose, you're not. But when you're in your purpose, you lose track of time, and everything just seems to flow, and things flow normally. Now, I back that up to say, I will never, ever cause you to question yourself, question your value, question your actions, question your ambition. I will never, ever cause you to or invite you to criticize, to critique, to shame, to guilt yourself. Okay. What I'm after in this lifetime is I'm after freedom. I'm after fulfillment. I'm after impact. And I'm after purpose. And I've never one time seen anyone beat themselves into oblivion enough, or shame themselves, or reject themselves enough to create purpose, freedom, fulfillment, and impact. Does that make sense? And I mean all of them, not one or the other. Right? You can beat yourself into wealth. You can beat yourself into what people perceive as success, but then you're internally miserable, and it doesn't really freaking matter anyway. you're not fulfilled, right? You're not happy, you're not joyous. And to me, I mean, you got the first act you ever did as a human being was an inhale, and the last act you'll ever do as a human being is an exhale. And what happens between, I want to make it as like fun and fulfilling and joyous and joyful and peaceful and loving and impactful as possible without damaging myself in the process, because that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you're right. And when you say about success is not on like a financial scale, see that I already think like that. And when I look at you, I think of you as being one of the most successful humans, but it's not from a financial thought. It's, obviously you have everything you want and
Sure.
need and etc. But when you look at yourself, like I've been to your house, you got a normal 2-story house in up north in St. Charles or Lake St. Louis, wherever it is up there. And it's like you're not some, wealthy, huge guy that, owns corporations or whatnot. You're very grounded. And that, I think, is what actually keeps you successful and keeps you like going, right? Like,
yeah, I've got everything I need, much of what I want, right? So the point is and it's a modest in relative terms. I mean, according to what I grew up with, it's a castle compared to what I grew up with. I grew up in a little, it was probably 800 square foot townhouse, not row house in Baltimore City. No grass, no trees, a concrete backyard that was 15 by 15. Grew up with brothers and it was a dusty environment and it was cluttered. I mean, I grew up in it wasn't a very fun place to grow up. And my wife grew up in abject poverty, born to two heroin addicted parents and never really having a home. And she was emancipated at 15. And it's the only reason she broke out of it. So we came from relatively nothing and we built everything we have right now. And do I have 8 commas, 15 commas in my bank account? No. Right. And I'm exaggerating about the number of commas. But the point being is, do I have like this infinity number of dollars? No. But I am wealthy to my core. And I know I will never have another financial problem in my life, right? Because I am fertile. And what I mean by that is I can create money when I need it. I can create income when I need it. Okay. And for people that are fertile, you don't need a silo, right? Think about a farm. When you're fertile, when you can grow anytime you want, you don't need a silo. You don't need to store it up. All right. So we do spend it. We travel a lot. You've seen that. We travel a lot. We go and we experience the world, and we go to over to Europe, and we go to the Caribbean a couple times a year, and we travel all over. And we're just like, we're living about 7, 8 years ago, we designed the life that we want to live. And that included complete time freedom. That included financial freedom. It included impact. It included travel. It included never being beholden to anyone else's or obligated to anyone else. And what I mean by that is, I'll never work for anybody else. I'm unemployable. Nobody owns my time. If you don't own your time, you don't own your life. And no one will ever own my time. And because of that, I get to own my life, and I get to make my own decisions. And I say yes when I want to say yes, and I say no when I want to say no. And I don't do things out of obligation. There's things that we need and things that we want. And I will never disrupt my life for what I want. I will disrupt if it ever comes to survival, which it never will. Then sure, let me go to war, right? I'm a Marine vet, right? But if it ever becomes a matter of survival, hell yeah, I'm in the fight, man. I love a good fight. But there's certain things we want, and I won't give up my happiness and my joy and my contentedness, my fulfillment for what I want. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and you're around a lot of wealthy people, and and I know myself, just seeing wealthy people buying investment properties or whatnot. It doesn't lead to happiness, and that's kind of what I think everyone thinks success is about, right? Like they think it's got a comma with it, and I'll tell you firsthand, chasing deals is not bring happiness.
Yeah, maybe to somebody it does, but to you it doesn't. But maybe to somebody else it does. And we each know if our life is serving us or if we're serving our life. All right, we each know. Again, if you don't know if you're in your purpose, you're not, right? If there's still that question, but when you're in your purpose, man, you're locked in, and the fulfillment comes from breathing in your purpose, not from the attainment from the purpose, right? I've got a bunch of very, very wealthy clients, and they'll never have another dollar. They'll never need another thing. And here's what I love this about some of my higher end clients. They don't have problems, right? There's when we jump on a coaching call or when I'm involved in a call with them, we're not problem solving. They don't have problems, but they're just looking for that next little that mental shift that's going to unlock another level of freedom and fulfillment in their life. But it's not about getting them more money or getting them another client or building their business. It's literally just about that internal freedom and fulfillment that they're looking for. And that's when life gets really, really good. But do they stop their business dealings because of that? No, they go out, but they treat business like a game. It's like playing Monopoly, right? My wife and I we just accessed a bunch of equity from our home, and right now I've got 2 investments going where I'm going to get 20% returns, right, on my investment. Why wouldn't I do that, right? That's a lot of fun. Now I get to participate in 2 other people's journey where I'm buying into their dream, and since I'm buying into their dream, there's going to be a nice hefty return, but I get to partner with them and help them and do life with them. And it becomes a game. Do I need that 20%? No, it was just fine. But now I get to participate in their journey. And that's a lot of fun. It's that's when, I might land on Boardwalk and get to buy Boardwalk. Do I need Boardwalk? No. Because I could close up the freaking board game and put it away anytime I want. I'll never need another dollar in my life. But we get to participate and play this game like it's a game instead of life or death, right? So creation mode instead of survival mode. And if it's based on insecurity, inadequacy, insignificance, fear, what if everything goes wrong? If it's based on that, you're in survival mode, and that's not a fun way to live. But when you shift to creation mode where it's just exponential growth and you're just playing, with house money, and you're just, that you don't need, but it'll be fun to just continue to expand the pie. That's when life gets really, really fulfilling and enriched.
Yeah. And when you go back to the purpose part, I'll sit here and say, I think I'm still trying to figure out my purpose, because I sit down on this podcast and I start talking, and like you say, the time just goes by. I can just I feel like I'm doing it without even thinking. I'm almost it's an out of body experience a little bit. It's strange to me because it just doesn't seem right, but it just flows out. It's just blah, there it all is. Here I am. And so I don't know, what's my purpose? What's my lane? But that's kind of I think both of our structures, I love to fail. As bad as that sounds, I love building stuff. And if it fails, I don't care. I love to do it. It's like a game.
That's creation mode, man. That's great. Let me ask you this though, Blake. With this podcast, have you gotten any feedback that this has improved somebody's life or given them a different perspective, or it's helped them level up, or it's made them think differently?
Yeah, I actually have. And that's pretty cool. A cool part of it.
And what that episode or whatever, was that hard?
Yeah.
The episode, making the episode itself was hard?
No, making the episode definitely was not hard. The process of
realizing the podcast, right? But you also got support. You got a mentor. You got people to help you who understood how to create the podcast. You got some support and some advocacy to help build the platform. But making that content, doing that episode, was that a struggle for you?
No, I guess not, because I was able to just...
And it improved their lives.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that happens.
Yeah. Actually, I saw, Cassidy showed me a message last night, and it was some girl she went to a grade school with. And she got hit by a car in Columbia, and she turned into had, problems with addiction after. And basically her one friend died that was in this car accident, and she survived. So she was having, survivor's guilt. And I think that kind of tormented with her a little bit. And so she sent these long messages to Cassidy and said, I can't, Blake is so brave for coming out and talking about, how I basically numbed myself and gave Cassidy shots for IVF, stuff like that, through alcohol. And so me coming out and saying that, and them taking it in and going, wow, that's incredible that you would come out and say that. It's awesome. And I love listening to it. That hits home to me. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
Blake, not everybody's as courageous as that, brother. All right. That's not a small act in this world, to be transparent and to share like some skeleton in your closet. So going back, I wrote my first book in 2018, I think it was. I think it was 2018. But it's called The Imposter in Charge. And the very first chapter was all me exposing skeletons, and just getting it all out. It's almost like I relate it to, you ever seen the movie 8 Mile? Right? It's all about, let me tell you all of my darkest shit so that you can't use it against me anymore. And I exposed in there that, I was a 300-pound suicidal alcoholic who was physically, mentally abusive to my wife and my kids. I was sometimes sexually abusive to my wife because I was like drunk out of my fucking mind. I wasn't a very nice guy. I wasn't a very kind guy. I was very selfish. I was very self-serving. I went to work for my benefit. I didn't go to work for the benefit of the company, even though I was running the companies. Right? It's crazy. I managed a $350 million energy plant. I managed a $65 million manufacturing plant. And I did that so that I could get what I need, not for the benefit of the company. Okay. Not for the, if there wasn't, I really didn't even dive into the impact that I was making in that role. It was all about what's in it for me. So the first 43 years of my life was lived just for my own wants, my own needs, and for my own benefit. And that included my wife and my kids. My kids were there to make me validated as a parent. They were there. My wife was there for my emotional needs, for my physical needs. It was all about me. Pretty shitty way to live. But in The Imposter in Charge, I shared all of that. Say, guys, whoever I've pretended to be up to this point, that's not who I really am. Let me tell you what was really going on. And one time at a speaking event, I let off just like that. I was like, hey, for 43 years, I was physically, mentally, emotionally abusive to my wife and my kids, sometimes sexually abusive to my wife. I was suicidal, stuck a gun in my mouth. I hated everything about me, and I hated everything about whatever. And like afterwards, after I opened, and that was the very first time I opened up like that, there was like a line of people waiting to talk to me, because not everybody possesses that courage. And there's a Buddhist maxim that says, if we all sat around a campfire and told our deepest, darkest secrets and stories, we'd all laugh at each other for lack of originality. Like everyone's struggling in some way. And when we share our struggles, people feel more normalized. Because if you look at most of the influencers in the world, they're showing up and they're showing people their perfection, where when we show people our pain, they feel more valuable. But when you only show the perfect side of you, they feel less valuable. And people desperately want to feel valuable. They just don't know how. And we help them do that.
Yeah. And without you, I can't, I don't know, like if I would have been 43, like luckily I got to New Orleans at 31, but I don't know, like if had you not been, I don't even know how it had just not popped up like in my life, where like would I have just kept going? Like I don't know, like it's scary to think a little bit, because I was a prick asshole. Like I mean, you might as well have just put a big old ME on me and just walked around like me, like you're saying. That's all I cared about, because I thought that was how I like helped everybody. Like that's how I thought I pushed the world. Like, and I never even realized that it was actually doing the opposite.
Yeah. I think most people are walking around scared to death, but pretending they're not, and again, I'm going to go back to the more we share who we really are, and the more we share what's really happening in our mind and our body, the more that we share, with transparency, with honesty, with rawness, shamelessly, who we are and what's going on inside of us, and what's happened over the course of our lives, the right people are going to lean in, because they want to feel that freedom that we feel. And I'm not saying we feel infinitely free and infinitely fulfilled, but I would say we feel more freedom and fulfillment than the average human being, Blake. All right. Because we're on the path. All right. We're on the path, brother. But again, I just opened the door for you. I didn't do that to you. I just opened the door for you. If you wouldn't, I've opened the door for thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and a few have stepped through. All right. You're one of them. You're one of the brave ones, man. This stuff it's deep. It's dark. It's scary. It's hard in terms of it's very, very There's a lot of darkness when we shut down for our life, or when we have shut down for decades. There's a lot of darkness in there that needs to be revealed, and that we need to shine the light on it. You did it again. I did it for me. Nobody could do it for me. I had mentors hold the door open for me, but you stepped through the door. Now you're holding the door open for other people, brother. So we just keep passing this net that it tends to kind of like help us find our purpose.
Yeah, and I think I'm a big emotional ball, as you know.
Ball of love.
Already over here, getting emotional because that's what I do best. And no, but it's kind of how I held back so many tears, I feel like, throughout my life, that now it's just I get to be myself, and I will cry in front of anybody because I don't care. Like it feels good almost to cry. Like I'm like this is like part of me. Like here I am on my podcast. I'm crying.
Yep.
Here we go. Like this is how it's supposed to be.
Yep. I was at a speaking engagement one time, and there's only one time I've gotten a complete standing ovation, and it was awesome. And it wasn't even by design. It was in front of a group of women, and my wife was in the audience, and I started talking about. So let me go back. In 2016, when I started this spiritual journey, because I almost killed myself. I can still taste the metal in my mouth, right? When I didn't kill myself, I knew I had to do something different. So I started this whole spiritual journey. I didn't know it was a spiritual journey at that point, but I started this whole reset transformation. And when I started transforming, my wife wanted nothing to do with it because she was in active addiction. And it took us a couple months. It took me a couple months of persistence to, and I kept trying to help, and I kept trying to share with her what I was learning. And I kept, trying to open up that door for her, and she wanted nothing to do with it. So I filed for divorce. And when I filed for divorce, I didn't do it to try to get her back. I had kind of given up. It's almost like when you let go and you give up, that's when good stuff happens. But when I gave up and I filed for divorce, that's when she stepped on the path. And that's when she started making transformative decisions. And she stumbled, she relapsed a bunch of times, but she's clean now, and she's on the path, and she's a completely different human being, and we are a completely different couple. And at this speaking engagement, I shared our journey, and I was worse than you. I couldn't even spit out 3 words because I love my wife so much, and I'm so proud of her, and I'm so proud of us and who we've become and what we've endured, because most people would not endure what we've endured, right? And most people, my family, my 2 girls too, the 4 of us together, we're powerhouses because we can we can transcend any pain. We've proven it over and over. But in this speaking engagement, I couldn't even blabber out 3 words without freaking breaking down. And at the end of it, like through a veil of freaking tears, and I had tears and shit spewing out of my ears. When I finished, they stood up because they saw a real human being. They didn't just see a speaker. They saw a human being. They saw somebody share their soul. They saw somebody share everything that was happening in their mind and body in that moment. And that, again, that normalizes people. That helps them feel real and valuable in their own skin. But when we pretend that we've got it all figured out, all it does is hurt other people, because they don't. And when you pretend to have it all figured out, that means they start to reject themselves at a higher level. And you did that. When you share that your perfection or only your successes, all it does is help somebody feel less valuable and normal, because it's going to start to make them or encourage them to question their own value and their own worth.
Yeah. And, when I talk about the alcohol part of numbing, like I get into, like, I was taking 3 Xanax a day. Like I was prescribed 90 Xanax just in like April of this year. And now, you know how many I take?
None.
0. Not a single fucking Xanax.
Why do you think that is? What do you relate that to?
Oh, it's relating to aligning yourself to a proper, like, I don't want to just say happiness, but it is like to find what truly, makes you, lights your fire, that really gets you going, that really gets you out of bed. And
you mean purpose?
Yeah, purpose. That's gotcha. Purpose. Yeah, I guess that's it, right?
When
turning on that water.
In the absence of purpose, you know what people default to, Blake? Pleasure seeking and pain avoidance. When someone isn't in their purpose, when someone's not honoring their purpose, when somebody's not honoring the miracle that they are, because we're all walking, talking, breathing miracles. There was a 1 in 400 trillion chance you were going to be born, but yet here you are, right? And you're on time and you're on purpose. You're not a coincidence. You're not a mistake. You are a complete act of divinity, and you are given talents and gifts and desires to serve humanity and to serve a meaningful purpose and a meaningful reason in this world. And when you start to step onto that, the pleasure seeking tends to wane, and the pain avoidance tends to wane. And we get on our purpose, and the plane and that the pleasure and pain part of life doesn't matter anymore. The impact does. The realization of a worthy ideal success. Right? That's what success is.
And that high is a lot better than Xanax.
Oh my gosh, it sure is. Because you've gotten the messages before, right? You've gotten the messages about how just by you breathing, somebody's life improved. And that's what happens when you're in your purpose. When you breathe, things happen. Things happen positively for other people and for you. I make money not by what I do, but by who I am. I make money by being Mike Kitko. I need to do nothing different than be Mike Kitko. That's it. I don't need to do anything. I breathe and I make money.
And Angie tells you that, right? But you'll still go try to do something else, right?
Yeah. I like to do stuff too. I like to have some fun.
Build, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I've got a new book coming out probably at the beginning of the year, and it's in its final editing phases. I've got my own podcast. I got 174 episodes. I've been at it since August of 2021. Every week since then. I've got blogs. I've got other books. I've got content. I've got a mastermind. You're in my mastermind. I've got the Inner Wealth community. I mean, I get notes from people around the world. My podcast has been listened to on 6 continents, 63 countries, and like 1,350 cities around the world. I mean, it's surreal. And just like you, I just started with a single episode, right? And here it is where people around the world, their lives improve because of this thing that I love to do, which is sit down and do this maybe with somebody else. I don't do a whole lot of interviews on my podcast, but I just call them like mic drops. They're like little 20-minute mic drops. I just get on and light your ass on fire for 20 minutes. And when you finish that podcast, I know you're going to run through a wall, right? I just know I made my life better, your life better, or I invited you into a better life because I just shared a little bit of freaking fire and just threw a fire. And people tell me that, whenever I need a little pick me up, I just throw on, one of the 174 and just like, let's go.
Turn on that Marine.
That's it, man. And this is, you just monetize being yourself. There's a Japanese concept called ikigai. Okay. Ikigai. And I love it. It's very awesome. And in terms of, it's very simple, but not easy. Okay. There's 4 concepts that when you take these 4 concepts and you put them together, you'll never work another day in your life. All right. You ready for these?
Let's go.
What you love to do, what you're really, really good at, what people need, and what people will pay you for. You put those 4 together, you will never, ever work another day in your life.
Mike Kitko right there.
It feels like I live in ikigai every day. And every once in a while, and I'm going to go back to a little bit ago, every once in a while, I just shut that shit down. I'm just like, I'm taking a break for a while. And a week goes by or a couple days go by where I'm just not inspired to do anything. I'm just inspired to be. And I shut the doing down. No Facebook posts, no book writing, no podcast recording, no nothing. I'm just in a little holding pattern, a little bit of restoration. And then I'll wake up, my eyes pop open. It's like, fucking go time. Let's go. And it turns right back on. But I used to be scared that if it ever turned off, it wasn't going to turn back on. Man, that fear is gone. I know that there's seasons and cycles. And if we honor the seasons and cycles of our life, you'll never, ever go wrong.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Cause I'm not really retreating. Like I'm more, I guess, resting because I'm not like going out and partying. Like I'm not retreating to like my old drunk asshole self on Xanax, like shit like that. Like I'm actually just, I guess when I say I'm retreating, I'm just resting. Like, and yeah,
that's it. Why you're a human being. You're not a human doing. Okay. You're a human being. And sometimes not doing is okay. Now, the hustle whores and grind gurus will tell you that that's not the case, right? That you're a failure and you're not giving it all and you're not committed and rah. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if my last exhale, if I'm going to really worry about how much I struggled in the course of my life. I don't think I'm really going to worry about that. Right? And there's an awesome book called the Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, and nowhere in there does it say I wish I would have worked harder. Right? I wish I would have worked more. I wish I would have stressed myself out more. I wish I would have not slept. Nowhere in those regrets. Right? Number one is I wish I would have lived a life true to myself instead of the life that other people expected for me. Number two is I wish I wouldn't have worked so hard. Okay. Those are two of the, I wish I would have stayed in touch with my friends more. I wish I would have shared my emotions a little more. I wish I would have shared who I am a little more. Right. And number 5 is I wish I would have let myself be happier. Sound like we're on the right track?
Oh yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Right,
there you go, my man. I am living my life so that at that last exhale, I don't regret anything. I want that last thought in my mind to be, that was fucking awesome.
Because nobody's going to give a fuck.
Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care. Yeah. And no matter what you build, I've got a very, very dear ally of mine, very close friend of mine. And he was in a really multimillionaire many times over. He's got an empire. And it was in a really, really dark place one time. And he called me and he says, Mike, I need a little boost, man. I'm in a dark place. I'm in a spiral. And I listened to what he was saying, and I listened to his words, and I listened to where he was challenged. And I said, all right, my man, I'm going to say some stuff that's probably not gonna feel real good, but it's going to be liberating. And he said, go for it. And I said, you're going to die. Your wife's going to die. Your kids are going to die. Your empire is going to crumble. Your legacy is going to be forgotten. Anything you accumulate is going to be spent. Anything that you build will be destroyed. Anything you leave behind will be erased. And all it takes, after 2 generations, nobody will know who the fuck you are anymore. And nothing that you built or nothing that you achieved will matter to anybody. And literally all it takes is one asteroid and this place is gone. And nothing that you've ever done is meaningful at all. And there's no legacy. And I was just stating some truths, man. Like, I just literally, hey, you're going to die, and so is everybody you love. Like, don't take any of this stuff too seriously. And at the end, he's like, that was like really depressing, but I feel suddenly lighter. Like, just go out and have some fun with all this. Don't take it. There's a word I love. It's called seriosity, and seriosity makes everything harder. Just don't take any of it too seriously, man. Making money, parenting, being a spouse, don't take any of it too seriously. Just have fun with it and watch how much easier it gets.
Yeah, and I'm working on that every day because it's hard to do. Like, that is it's a master skill to really, dial all those back to where you're calm, cool, and collected throughout every situation. And that's, you're not going to be perfect.
No,
right? We're not
I was getting ready to say, there's the only thing that'll happen is over the course of time, whatever we practice at, we get better. Okay. That's just that's a law of being a human being, right? Whatever you practice improves. Okay. So I've been at this for 8 years, and it doesn't mean that the triggers don't happen. It doesn't mean that, the fear or whatever doesn't show up, because we've got this little amygdala in our mind that's always pointing out danger that doesn't exist. But the point is the magnitude and severity of the events decreases over time, and the frequency decreases over the time, and the length of the event shrinks over time. So it doesn't mean that they don't happen. It's you just learn how to manage them better and better over time, because we do have this human anatomy, this fear-based human animalistic beingness that we've been gifted, right? So we are spirit having a human experience. So we're not humans having a spiritual experience. We're spirit having a human experience. All right. We're playing human for 80, 90 years. That's all. We are God. We are the essence of God. We are a divine being. We are divinity incarnate. And we are here for 80 to 90 years, likely, playing human. That's it. And when the human stops, we just go back to being divinity, divine, right? Energy and awareness. That's it. We go back to being spirit. And sometimes we get caught up in the animal instead of in the spirit. We forget that we're spirit having a human experience, and we get caught up in the animal that is this meat suit. All right. And the meat suit is very fear based and wants to stay alive for infinity. And spirit already is alive for infinity, but the meat suit is going to perish after about 80 to 90 years. Just make sure you're being the spirit, not the meat suit.
Yeah. That's like, I love that. That is I mean, it's like you almost want to just have that on the wall, right?
Yeah.
Be the spirit, not the meat suit, because like that's, I mean, like I've done some terrible things, not terrible, but like stuff that I would regret because I wasn't, living like that for my soul. I was just being a meat suit.
You were being the animal, not the spirit, right?
Yeah.
So look, it's easy to get caught up in this illusion of being the animal, man, but we're not. We have a body, we have a mind, but we are the soul. We are the soul in control. We're not the animal and we're not the mind. Average human being has 120,000 thoughts per day, and most of them not kind, right? So you see that little freaking foray of like sometimes not goodness up there, thought after thought after thought. But you're not the thoughts. The thoughts come and go. They just come, then they can leave. Just the same thing with the emotions. The emotions, fear, guilt, shame, anger, jealousy, whatever, desire, these things can come. And if you just let them be, they'll just dissolve, and you can just go back to being spirit. You don't have to identify as the animal or the emotion or the thought or the mental construct. You don't have to identify as any of that.
Yeah. And there's a quote that you always refer to, and it's about like being like seeking out your enemies and you find your supporters on the way. Is that, can you or
oh yeah
can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. So when I first started, and my journey, I guess, in this personal development, self-development, spiritual development, has been almost like step by step, layer by layer, letting another little layer of myself come out. Right. So it wasn't like I just, took off the coat and just like, wow, I'm out and I've arrived. It's like letting go of a little bit of who I wasn't to let who I was shine. Okay. And it's not you've experienced it's courageous, but it's not the easiest. It's simple, but not easy to just be yourself. We say be yourself, but it's not easy to be yourself. It's very simple. It's a very simple concept. But the point is there's always this piece of us that says, if I show this to the world, I'm going to be rejected. All right. If I show this to the world, then they're gonna think things about me. So like the process has just been letting little layer after layer of who we're not, let it, and our conditioning and our programming just dissolve. And the point is most people are trying to find champions. They're trying to find supporters. They're trying to find people that agree with them in the world. And that's the easiest way to keep ourselves small. Go out and try to find people that don't support you. Go out and find haters. Go out and push the edges of authenticity to the point where people start to push back. Because when you start to reveal yourself and you find who doesn't appreciate you or enjoy you, that's when you'll really find the people that do. And that's when they'll start leaning in. Okay. So I've seen it time and time again where I'll share a spiritual truth of that I'm holding on to, and somebody will point back and somebody will push back on that. And then people that support me will jump in, and they'll start to converse. And it's like, oh, got it. There you are. There's my guy. Because, that's when you see the people that really connect with your message. Right. Go out and find, and Grant Cardone shares this. There's not a lot of things that I love about Grant Cardone's message, but that's the one thing I love. Go out and find your haters. And in the process, you'll find your supporters. If you only try to find your supporters, you'll keep yourself small.
Yeah. And that's kind of one thing I'm going through right now, and trying to figure out, like, as I come and kind of tell people who I am, I'm losing people. Like it's not only just affecting like my personal relationships, but it's trickled down to like even like my business, like where people are wanting to talk badly about my business skills. Like, so it's gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't know, I have my few supporters, but there's a lot of fucking haters that I have now. Like, and it was unintentional. Like, this wasn't my intention to go out and just have a bunch of haters all of a sudden. Like, that wasn't my purpose.
No, you don't want the haters, but you're going to find both. You're going to find both. And if you're not finding both, you're not showing who you really are to the world. Does that make sense? You're not looking to create haters, but you do want to reveal them. You do want them to show you like who they really are. And in order to show you who they really are, you have to show them who you really are. Right. So some of the things that I teach, I love, I'm a student and I'm a teacher of, you were just over my house, the soul sciences. And I talked a little bit about the soul sciences, spiritual and mystical concepts, and systems and platforms like gene keys, human design, astrology, the life you were born to live, soul contracts, Mayan astrology. These are some weirdo freaking like systems. All right. These are some things these are some revelations that most people are like, they'll go cross-eyed if you tell them you believe in these things. And I do. I've seen people's entire lives change because of the truth that they reveal and the truth that they find out in astrology. And people say, well, yeah, where it's written in the stars. Well, it kind of is. And astrology is not a replacement for God. Astrology is the methodology that God used to create you. That's all it is. Right. There's energies of different cosmic planets and as things move and as things transit, that's why you feel different from day to day, because those energies are shifting. Right. The moon is responsible for high tide, low tide, and the magnetic and the gravitational pull of the moon causes entire bodies of water to move. So you're 85% water. You don't think the moon's going to have any impact on you. You're right. So like everybody will completely surrender to the fact that the moon changes tides. But when you say the moon changes somebody's mood, they'll say, oh, that's bullshit. But you're 85% water. But the moon will make entire oceans move, like, and change and shift. Right. But they sometimes refuse to face the fact that we're mostly water and the moon has an impact on us and our mood and how we show up and how we feel. Right. There's so much truth in astrology that and human design and gene keys and all these systems that when you really connect them, when you really understand them at a deep level, they will only change your entire life and how you perceive yourself. But that was scary for me to share for a long time because it was weirdo shit. Right. And now the more I share it, and I'm doing a workshop here in a little bit, but the more I share the soul sciences, the more the right people are leaning in. And I don't need everyone. There's 8 billion people on the planet. I don't need 8 billion people. I just need the people that really connect to who I am and to what I share and what I teach. And those people's lives, that's who I'm here for. I'm not here for everybody else. I'm here for that little subset. And I just have to show them who I really am so that they can lean into me. I can't worry about everybody else. So if you're busy and you're worried about the people that aren't right for you, you'll miss out on finding the people who are right for you.
Yeah, I love that. And going back to the astrology part, obviously, because you look at Christianity or Catholicism, like that type of stuff, you read the Bible. Yeah. Okay. Some of those Bible verses are, don't, what is one? Don't, cherish the stars, moon, or stuff like that, and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize it, to be honest. Like, I had no idea.
The Bible's mystical, man. The Bible is mystical. It's not, it's philosophical and it's mystical. There's a reason that, and look at the church's teachings. There's a reason that Easter changes where it is from year to year, right? It's the first Sunday after the frickin' the spring equinox. I mean, come on. It's based on the 3 wise men thousands of years ago. There were 3 stars that they called the 3 wise men. It's based on like the Catholic Church adopted pagan principles to expand its population, right? That's why we have Christmas trees, and that's why there's wreaths, and that's why there's freaking mistletoe. These are all pagan symbols, right? These are all paganism, and they were implemented and adopted by the church to increase the number of people. Okay, so these things are more intertwined and interconnected than we ever give credit to. Okay,
I guess that's the star on top of the Christmas tree.
It is. Yeah. It's the same thing, man. And if you look at Christmas, where Christmas, it's the winter solstice. It's all the same stuff. So Yeah, I decided to lean into the spiritual truth that I feel inside, and yeah, if somebody doesn't agree with me, then they're not for me, and I'm not for them, and it's okay.
Yeah, and you could also say that they have probably some cherished beliefs, and that's one thing that I've changed with myself. I'm real open to really anything, and even on like politics, I will listen to other sides of people or comments and agree with them because they are right on a certain level.
Sure.
Because everybody's right. It's an opinion, right? But at the same time, like, yeah, I can give you my rebuttal to that or why I would be against it. But at the same point, like we're all right. Like we all have it in us to do something amazing. So I can't look at that person and say, well, no, you're wrong about that.
Yeah. Well, just like, I said about how I believe in astrology. So I see truth in astrology, and whatever belief we're holding, our life rearranges around it. Right. So when we change our beliefs, our life changes. So whatever you look for evidence of your beliefs, you're going to find. And it just, pick wisely, choose wisely. So you could take this back to money mindset. And I do a lot of content creation and speaking about money mindset. Whatever you believe to be true, you'll make true. So if you believe that making money is hard, you'll prove that right. You'll prove yourself right. If you believe that you have to work hard for your money, you'll make that true. You'll make it true for you. Doesn't mean it's true for everybody. You'll make it true, for you. If you feel like life is dangerous, you will make that true for you. It might not be true for me, but you will make it true for you. So just, look at your beliefs and ask yourself simply, is this belief serving me or is it not? Is it bringing me freedom or is it bringing me like struggle? And if it's bringing you struggle, then you can adopt for a higher belief unless you want to hold on to that struggle-licious belief. But you get to choose, right? I get to choose freeing beliefs, and I choose freeing beliefs that say I'm infinite and I'm abundant and I'm part of like this grand scheme in the cosmos, and I am God, and you are God and we are God and we're divinity and there is no end of life. It serves me. It brings me a lot of freedom, and it sure does feel better to hold that belief than something like there's an end to all of this.
Yeah, I agree with the whole end part. Like, why would you want to like just be like, oh, there's a, obviously we know we have an exhale, like our last exhale, but at the same time, like the journey of this and then back to spirit, like saying, hey, or, like you're not really dying. Like you're still here. You're just out of your meat suit now.
That's it. You're just on to the next form or lack of form. It doesn't matter. But the consciousness that you are doesn't perish, man. It doesn't extinguish. You're just consciousness. That's it. There's two parts of our being. There's energy and awareness. And that makes consciousness. All right. The energy can't be created and it can't be destroyed. So when your body is just energy slowed down to create some density. Make sense?
Totally.
Right? So if you take a flashlight in the sky, you think about this. All right. Listeners, Blake, it's nighttime and you got a flashlight and you just move the flashlight across the sky. It's going to look like a line, right? You ever done that?
Mm-hmm.
Do it with your kids, right? When you move the flashlight across the sky real fast, it looks like a line, even though it's not. It just looks like a line. So atoms, the basic molecules in atoms, they're moving so fast. They're energy, but they're moving so fast that it looks dense. It looks like matter, but it's not matter. They're molecules. Okay, they're atoms, but they're moving so rapidly and they're so compressed that it looks like a meat, but it's just energy. Your meat suit is just energy. It's 99.999999% space and energy, and 0.000001% matter. And that's why when you what is it called when I just dumped the word. When we get cremated, there's a little pile of ash left. That's it. That's why all the rest, the whole body turns into this little handful of ash because we're 0.000001% matter. And the rest is energy, and the fire just releases the energy. That's it. So we're not solid. We're not real. That's why when you burn wood is energy. It's the densified energy. And when you burn wood, it turns to ash, right? Because you're really letting the energy go from the piece of wood. It's not real. It's not dense. It's just energy and a little tiny bit of matter, but it's energy. And that's us. We're energy a little bit of matter, not a whole lot, a little bit of matter, but we're also awareness. And that makes up our overall consciousness. But people identify like we are the matter, even though that's so small. Like the Big Bang started with a little tiny, tiny piece of matter that blew up. And that's why there's a little tiny bit of matter in you, because you have the same makeup as the stars. There's a little matter and a whole lot of energy and a whole lot of stardust, right? A little bit of stardust, a whole lot of energy. But the point is you're not who you think you are if you identify with the body. We're not our body. The body will cease to exist, but that's not who we are. The awareness that's inside of the body, or the awareness that is aware that it's wearing a meat suit, that's who you really are.
Yeah, that really, I mean, when you bring it all around like that, it really puts it into your brain like, man, like we are lucky to be on this earth, and we're lucky to be in this country.
Miracle.
I mean, yeah, and 1 in 400 trillion just to be born in the world, right? And
yeah.
Then you really break it down. And I was saying, what about to be born in the United States of America?
Freaking
yeah,
jackpot.
good luck. Yeah, good luck.
Jackpot.
I guess we made it.
Yeah, there are people in this country, and I just did a podcast episode about it. It was a Thanksgiving Day podcast, right? Last Thursday. And I said, we just got back from a trip to the Dominican Republic. And we took this bus trip to go and see some beautiful things in the Dominican. But at the same time, we saw a lot of really horrific things in the Dominican. And on this bus trip, there are shanty after shanty after shanty. And this basically looks like what would be a shed in the United States. Sometimes they had doors and windows, and sometimes they didn't. But either way, it was about the size of a shed, and a family lives in these things. And there's a rainwater collection system on top the shanty. And these shanties are rusty, and there's around the shanty, there's a bunch of garbage, and there's hazards, and the kids are out there playing near all these hazards, and stray dogs walking around. And I mean, it's like literally abject poverty. And they have no access to running water. They have no access to electricity. They have no access to the cooling, and it's hot in the Dominican. They have no access to any environmentally controlled temperature for most of the country. Most of the country. Are there pockets of prosperity? Absolutely. But for a lot of the country, it's abject poverty. And we get to get up off our couch, go over to the faucet in the sink, turn the handle, and water comes out. And there's most of the people on this planet do not have access to healthy water or running water, but healthy water, drinkable water that won't further damage them. And here we are. We need nothing. You open your fridge. I guarantee, if you're listening to this, you open your fridge, there's food in there. I guarantee you have air controlled temperature around your house. I guarantee you have access to clean water. I guarantee that you have some shelter around you that's keeping you safe. If you're listening to this, right? Most people in the world don't have that right. They're privileged. We are truly blessed. We are truly generously blessed in this world.
Why do we take it for such granted, you think?
Because things that are already present, typically, there's a quote by Eckhart Tolle that I love. And it says, the mind wants to want more than it wants to have. Okay. Most people are living their life according to their mind instead of their soul. And the mind wants to want more than it wants to have. And this is why when you set a target and you set a goal, even before you get there, you're already moving the target. Because the mind's convincing you that what you have isn't enough, that it needs to be more. And the mind is addicted to more. So when the mind wants to want more than it wants to have, it doesn't take time to appreciate, feel gracious, or feel gratitude for what's present in our life. And typically, again, if you're listening to this, you have what you need in your life. You might want more, but we sometimes confuse our wants and our needs, and we put ourselves in survival mode for our wants while we have everything that we need to exist, and we need to thrive, and we need to feel a sense of gratitude and stability in this world. But we identify more with our wants than our needs, because the mind wants to want more than it wants to have.
The meat suit right there.
The meat suit. It's all tied together, man. The animal nature of you is always going to look for freedom and fulfillment in the future, but your soul knows it's here now. because it's only ever now, right? Again, going back to Eckhart Tolle, the only time you've ever lived is now. And the mind assigns this miraculous coming to, period in the future. And then when you get there, it's only now. So if not now, not then either, because it's just a different now, like later.
Yeah. Trust me, I got to pull like 14 layers of my brain back to even like, to like understand all that, because like it is so easy just to forget it and just to think it's just, well, that's just that just comes with it. It's all inclusive life. Right. But it's really not. Like all this stuff that we have and we take for granted is not taken for granted in literally numerous other places. Like we are so lucky, and I struggle with that daily. Like I fight that all the time. I'm like, just accept it. Just, I'm like pulling my brain back to just say, like, squeeze it together. Like just accept that, like, this is amazing that you get this stuff, like that your water turns on, that you have hot water, that you have a roof, that, yeah, you don't have to drink rusty water, because I've been to the Dominican Republic. It is sad. Like it is. I mean, you have oxes that are still moving machines. Like there's an ox going in a circle, grinding sugarcane. Like, and it's just like, whoa. Like remember in Jamaica, I walked into a school and I have red hair, of course. And they all looked at me like, whoa, like, who is this guy? Like, and I remember looking back and they're like, whoa, this guy's got like orangish red hair. What planet is he from? And then I'm thinking to myself, yeah, what planet am I from?
There's a saying that over 50% of the population of the world has never seen a phone. So think about that, how connected we are to our phones, and we live our whole life through our phone. And over 50% of the world's population has never seen a phone. And most of them don't even know what a phone is. Like this is first of all, my wife was sitting on the couch one time and said, you know what? Life was a lot easier when we were younger. And then she stopped and went, no, wait, fuck that. She said, I can get on my phone, order something from Amazon, and it hits me in the head like an hour later. Like, what a great time to be alive. And what a great time to be alive in a place where we can access all this technology and use it for the benefit of ourselves and for humanity, than to use it detrimentally. And most people on this planet don't have access to any of the goodness that we have, but some of them are happier because they cherish like the goodness that they have instead of what they lack. And if they don't know what they lack, because they don't know what we have, then they just accept what they have as perfectly suited until they see, and then that, that crazy comparison sets in. Yeah. And comparison, man, it'll just cause a lot of pain and discomfort in your life that's completely unnecessary.
Yeah, part of me always would be like, man, you need to just like go live over there for like a week just to appreciate what you have. And because it is hard, like I said, I struggle with this daily. Like, appreciate gratitude. It's as simple as gratitude. Yeah. Like, I mean, everything comes back to just giving thanks for what you have. Like, and nobody, like you say, nobody really gives thanks for turning on their water every morning.
No, and just make a game out of the rest of it. We have everything we need now. But like, as you said that, I started connecting with, I'm a Marine vet, and you really don't know what freedom is until you don't have any. And what I mean by that is, I was a 20-year-old punk, and I went to Marine Corps boot camp, and suddenly, I went from being able to make my own decisions and doing whatever I wanted to do, and having complete autonomy and authority over myself, of drinking what I wanted and eating what I wanted and sleeping when I wanted and waking up when I wanted. I had complete autonomy and authority over my life to the next day when I was in boot camp. I had authority and autonomy over nothing. And it's like when I came out of boot camp and reemerged into the world and went on leave, and it was like I appreciated life at a whole different level. Oh my God, I get to wake up when I want. It's crazy, when my body wakes up instead of just when somebody tells me it's time to wake up. So until it's taken away, you don't really appreciate it, unless you, and maybe you're listening to this podcast and you start to reflect on that and really start to express some gratitude and understand what you have right now.
Yeah, that's all I can really do. Like I can't go sign up for a war, but like in terms of like going to the Marines, like that, I never really thought of it like that. Like, maybe we all should have a little stint in some type of a Marine or the Navy or whatnot, any of those branches. But I guess the only thing I can do is just keep reflecting on, my gratitude and just, take it day by day and give thanks for everything I have.
Just constant gratitude.
Yeah.
Look at what you have instead of what you don't have. And I think that there's a book called The Gap and the Gain, and it always talks about, if you always compare yourself to the gap, you'll live a miserable existence. You'll always be unfulfilled. But if you compare yourself to where you've been, and compare yourself to your needs, and that all your needs are met, and you can continue to evolve and continue to play the game of business, and continue to play the game of impact and the game of life, and not take it too seriously. You'll always win. You always find that purpose, freedom, and fulfillment that you're looking for.
Yeah, I love that. And kind of to wrap this all up, I just want to kind of throw it over to you and kind of give you a little almost the ball and kind of give us a little like close of what you would tell somebody, like, hey, if you're wanting to change your mindset and you're not all about the the hustle and the guru, which I wasn't. Like, I'm not. That's not what lights a fire under my butt. It's truly a different level of success. Has nothing to do with that. But like, tell somebody, like, what would you start with? Like, you got Inner Wealth Global, you got this soul science stuff, you got so many different areas to enter, and so many different doors to go in. Like, what door would you choose? Like,
I think the first question is, and only each listener or each person on the face of the planet can answer this question, right? Are you truly feeling a sense of purpose in this world, right? And I think one I guess line that I love to use is, you're not a coincidence. You're not a mistake, right? You are on time, and you are on purpose. You were born at a specific time to serve a specific purpose, and you are completely designed with desires, talents, and purpose that will impact the world in a specific way. Do you feel a sense of purpose? And if the answer is yes, keep going. If you do feel a sense of purpose, keep going. If you don't, then start to kind of weed through the stories that that you're telling yourself, the fear-based stories. Are you feeling a sense of freedom? Are you feeling a sense of freedom? And I'm talking about internal and external freedom. I'm not talking about political freedom. I'm talking about a sense of freedom to be yourself, to live life on your terms, to own your time, to own your life, to own your outcomes. Do you feel like you are the creator, or you are the victim of your life? Do you feel free to create a new life whenever you want? And if the answer is yes, keep going. If the answer is no, then start asking questions. So start understanding and start unpacking some of that stuff that's in your body, in your mind. Are you fulfilled? And I don't mean, are you happy? I mean, are you fulfilled? I mean, do you feel like you are valuable and worthy and significant? Do you feel like life is better because you exist? Do you feel like people are better because you exist? Do you feel like a miracle? Do you feel innately blessed on a daily basis by things you can see and things you can't see? Because 99.5% of what life is, you can't see. Do you trust life? Are you fulfilled? Do you feel complete inside right now? Not do you feel, are you looking for external circumstances to fill you and to make you complete? Are you trying to prove yourself? And if the answer's no, you're not trying to prove anything. And if the answer is yes, that you are fulfilled, then keep going. But if you're not fulfilled, if you don't feel like you have already arrived, then we got some work to do. Start questioning what's going on in your mind and body. This is the work that I do with people. And it's just, we start to really understand what's happening inside of them from a conditioning perspective, from a programming perspective, from a comparison perspective, from understanding at a deep level of where you're living as the ego, the fear-based part of you, fear-based animal or the soul. And we start to differentiate, because only by connecting to the truth of the soul that you are you going to find the true purpose, the freedom and fulfillment. You're not going to find those three things in the animalistic ego. You're never going to arrive. And when you do get to your last exhale, there's probably going to be some regret there. And you know, I don't know about you, but like I said before, I want my last thought to be, that was fucking awesome. Like, I left it all on the table and it was a lot of fun, and the world's better because I existed. And if I can help in any way, that'd be awesome. My business is Inner Wealth Global. Our website is www.innerwealthglobal.com. I do a lot of stuff on social media. My Facebook profile, first and foremost, a lot of silly posts, but I also invite into workshops, and I invite into speaking engagements, and I invite into webinars, and I have a course. You came to my Choose Your Destiny course. Successful people choose their destiny. Unsuccessful people chase their destiny, right? Spiritual beings choose their destiny. Material beings, they chase their destiny. On Facebook, YouTube, I post a lot of inspirational content, a lot of things that'll just give you a different way of perceiving life.